So, as you know, I took the Greyhound bus from Dallas, Texas to New Jersey, to Oakland, New Jersey. I actually got off earlier because earlier and had my friend pick me up in the station a couple states over. I can't remember which one. Somewhere in Ohio, I think. Or no, that may have been the one I was delayed in. But yeah, I couldn't take it any longer. I'd never been on the Greyhound before. I didn't know what to expect. I was 17. I was still 17. This was early mid-June, I believe. May, yeah. Early mid-June, and it was a 2-day trip, or supposed to be. It ended up being 3 days. So I met so many interesting people. Overall, it was a good experience with some horrible, horrible moments. Would I want to take it again? Maybe. It's extremely uncomfortable, extremely annoying, but the only reason I like it is because I met so many people that just intrigued me so much, and I loved it. What was I going to say? I'm sorry, I'm like so out of it right now. I'm ready. But one of the things that happened is I met my friend Andrew, who actually might be moving to Dallas. He had met him in Pennsylvania, and we just talked on the bus for a while, and so we kept talking ever since then. I only met him for a few hours, but we've kept talking since then. And we've actually grown close and know each other quite well. I also happened to meet this guy with schizophrenia and multiple personality disorder and Asperger's. We started talking, and he's actually seems like really a gentle person. He was really shy, and he was just like really nervous and all that to talk to me. And he's in his early mid-20s, I think. And he talked to me. He's like, I can't believe I'm actually talking to you. Most of the time I'm super shy around girls and all that. It's because like when people are shy and all that, I love to make people feel good about themselves. I want to know them and all that. And so I've actually worked with kids that have autism and Asperger's before, and that's how I learned a little bit of sign language. Sign language. So this guy, we talked for a while, and he did seem off. He was actually carrying a cane that he made for his grandfather or great-grandfather or something like that. And the cane was, beautifully made, this oak or some kind of wooden branch with metal engraved into it and all that. And he actually made it. And he had given it to his grandfather not too long ago. And he was picking it up I'm not sure why he was in the town, but he had it with him. He had just died, and he actually died not too long after giving it to him. And I remember him telling me about how his grandfather, he would not let the nurses take it from him when he was dying. He held on to that thing and died with it. But this guy, he was very kind, he was very sweet, and very much of a gentleman. And he told me he was so much of a gentleman because his mother raised him that a man should be able to do what all a woman does, so that he doesn't look at her like, oh, this is a woman's job. So he knows how to. His mom taught him how to sew, clean, cook, and everything. So he will treat a woman right, and he certainly does. He's very kind, and he, is a bit off and everything, which is, seems a bit obvious. He got made fun of a lot, which is not okay. He's such a good person. Yeah, I see why people would make fun of him, but that doesn't make it okay. He's a good person. But he told me also about his multiple personalities. He told me about how one of them was actually the son of Satan. But the son of Satan was not evil. He told me about how he has connections to the Hells Angels and everything, and he has a very protective personality of people. He actually showed me one of his personalities. Whether or not it was real, I don't know. But what he did, he's like, okay, let me bring one of them out. He turns to his side, and he just crouches down for a minute. And we're sitting at the Greyhound station on a bench. And he just goes like this, and then he raises his head and goes, where am I? I don't know where am I? And it was very shy, and then he just stops again, and he's like, whoa. And I was like, what did I just see? I can't believe I met this person on the Greyhound. Yeah, and So we actually still talk on Facebook. I'm interested in his multiple personalities, so I'll have to tell me, there's many of them. I'll have to tell me more about them, and I want to get to know this person more. I also met this really, really badass old lady. Super, super skinny. Like, her arms were bone thin, hair as short as mine, and she was on her way to New York, and just, smoking cigarettes, and I forget how old she was, but Betty was so kind. And I actually have her number, and she gave me a call. She told me to give her a number, and I gave her my number, and she actually gave me a call. It just made sure I made it okay, safe, and, and so I'm actually going to give her a call sometime and talk to her again. I want to see how she's doing. I also met this girl. She's actually a carny, and her name was Raimi. I love her. She told me, and we talked about troubled past and how it can make you a greater person. She was actually on her way to somewhere in New York to, for a carnival, because she was actually visiting home again. And, we actually ended up, after we started talking, we ended up traveling the rest of the way together, because we're not separating, because there were some creeps there. You meet lots of guys that are creeps on the Greyhound. She was super cool, though. I love her. I need to talk to her again, too. I am going to talk to so many people after I make this. I also met a guy named Cheese, a black guy with dreadlocks, and he was super chill, and he just acts so ghetto and all that. We were both, all these people were trying to ride the same bus. There was such a huge delay, like 16 hours. We actually talked to the lady, and she's like, this happens like once every 3 or 4 years, and we're just all like, of course, the day we ride it. We were actually stuck in Ohio, or I think it may have been Columbia. It was either somewhere in Columbia, Ohio, or or it was Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. It was one of those stations. I was stuck there for quite a while. It was not what I wanted to do, but we went to I met a lot of people there. Only thing I did was I just taught. That's the only thing I had to do. I didn't have music or anything like that. All I had was my cell phone. I took a sink shower, of course. I slept. They made it to where you couldn't sleep on the benches, because they had those handlebars, the armrest on the bench, so it separated to like 3 seats, and it was like, I slept on the floor for a little bit. I took a sink shower. That really sucked. But yeah, one person on the Greyhound actually started petting me. I was asleep against the window just like this and all that, just asleep against the window. And they just take the back of their hand at some guy, and he just starts like stroking me like that. I have no idea how long he was stroking me. I was passed out. You have to sleep on the bus because you're constantly transferring. And I just wake up to him stroking me, and I just like wake up, what? And I just like look at him like this, and he just put his hands in his lap and just looked forward the rest of the ride. I just like kind of was like, what just happened? Fortunately, I only had to ride with him for like 3 more hours. Thank God that was over. The guy with Cheese, that's his name, Cheez, the one with dreadlocks and all that, said, you know what, if someone's petting you again, I'll got your back. If someone ever starts messing with you, I got your back, with all these creepers and all that. He was super chill. And just talking about all these other things and just life and, being smart for a woman, and how even though women aren't the only ones with creepers. He talked about all these crazy stalker stories he had, which I just laughed. And, but he's like, you know what, the one thing, and if there are monsters or something, I got your back. But if there are zombies, I'm throwing your ass out there, and I'm running. That's the only thing you won't have my back in. He's like, you're a distraction. So, what else was it that I was going to talk about? The delay was horrible. One thing I think is actually a good money idea is you could go to I had cigarettes at the time. People would buy these cigarettes for like $1 each. You would make so much profit because there's a lot of the stations, there's no gas stations around. Everyone's riding the bus. They only have like a 10-minute break. They don't have time to get more. And so people will give you $1 for a cigarette. You can make so much money just being at a Greyhound station selling cigarettes. Might actually do that. What was I gonna say? I also met this super southern guy, had the most southern accent, just like this, up in Tennessee. I'm actually from the South myself. Before this trip, I had never been more north than Tennessee. I was only to Tennessee like once or twice, which was the previous year, and that was to visit my brother or my niece actually. My niece lives there. But I met this guy, and he was talking about how he is not supposed to be traveling there, and he's going to meet his father for the very first time. He was 20-something, 20, 21, 22, something right around there, and he had just talking with the most southern accent, and he was talking about how he's in trouble and how he's supposed to be visiting his parole officer, but he just contacted his father, and he's going to meet him for the very first time, but he's going to skip parole, which might get him in a lot of trouble, or skip some probation or something like that. I'm not sure. I don't know how those things work quite. Another thing that's just hearing those stories just really inspired me. There was this other woman. She was not much older than me. She had pink and black hair, and she was telling, but I didn't know it, but she was actually very early term pregnancy, and she was actually leaving her boyfriend to go for his brother. The boyfriend was not good to her. He got her in trouble a lot, and she was pregnant with his baby. But she loved somewhere along the lines fell in love with his brother. I was going to see that, and just these people inspired me to write some stories. Because something I want to do is I want to write stories and make movies and things like that. These people really inspired me. Another thing that happened was there was this really, really obese lady. I got stuck with her. I'm actually pretty small, only 90-something pounds. But it was the only seat left, and I sat next to her. On the Greyhound bus we were on, the middle armrest did not go up. She had the window seat. I was getting on the bus, and I sat next to her because it was one of the only seats left. The middle armrest does go up. So the armrest in the middle of the aisle, doesn't. But the armrest in the middle, separating the window seat from the aisle seat, does go up. But she was so obese that I could not put it down. And she took up like half of my seat. It was awful. When we would turn, her weight would shift onto me. It was awful. And I felt bad for her because I know she was aware of it. But she actually, I'm not even sure if she cared. She just was like one of the sassy, like, I don't think she cared, honestly, the way she was acting. But like, I don't have anything against fat people, and I feel bad for her. But I could not sit in my seat. I had to turn to the middle with the middle armrest squishing my stomach, and I put my legs out into the aisle, facing the aisle. And this one girl in the aisle across, she could see what was happening, and she would just every time we would like take a turn, and I would get squished more, and her weight would shift onto me. And it was so hard because I wanted to sleep, and I think I ended up spooning her because we were in like the perfect prescription to spoon, or the perfect position to spoon. And I think I ended up spooning her when I fell asleep. Kind of weird, but it's like what happens on the Greyhound stays on the Greyhound. Yeah, ended up being like a 3-day trip. Crazy trip. All the things I saw, it was really amazing. I'm so glad I got to have that experience. I was only 17. I still am. But yeah. Finally, there were so many delays, so many things going on. I wouldn't get to New Jersey until like Thursday, or not Thursday, but like until like 4 days later. So my friend David actually ended up picking me up in a state or two over, like 3 or 4 hours away, because I was like, I cannot take this anymore. Please pick me up, and he did. So thank God. But yeah, that was my Greyhound trip. I might add on because I know there were some things I'm missing. I'm just making this last minute. Sorry for the long video. Thank you for watching. Alright, see ya.